Hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner on YouTube, and one of my many little arty corners around the internet. But it's lovely to see you again. Well, talk to you again and show you some drawing. And it's Saturday. It's quite late on a Saturday actually for me. It's nearly 11:30 in the morning. I just don't ask is best. And I did mention in yesterday's video, and I'm going to do a community post about this, is that I've been thinking about themes for days of the week. And I'm also, not only that, I'm also going to sort of pencil in a couple of days a week where I do a minimum amount of social media work so I can focus on some other stuff. Like Wednesday, or Thursday, it's really template Thursday. It takes me a lot of time to get the template finished and coloured, and it's not something I can show you on social media because I tend to do colouring in digital media. So it's just making use of my time and giving myself time to do other things because I need to start work on my next book as soon as. So do some more about this. I'll introduce each day as I come to them. But today and tomorrow, I think I've sort of settled on weekend project, or weekend project maybe, or weekend art, weekend art, perhaps something like that. I can't find a suitable alliteration, so if anybody's got any suggestions for it, it could be weekend witterings for all I know, would suit me. So what I thought to do on a Saturday, maybe a Sunday, but it's unlikely I'm going to do a video on a Sunday because my Sundays are getting quite busy with catching up with friends on Zoom, which is strange considering that the pandemic seems to be easing somewhat, and I seem to be chatting more with friends online, which is strange, but it's fine. So anyway, what I thought I'd do today, or what I thought I'd use the weekends for, is short projects that you can complete in a short period of time, but things geared on being able to give away as well, or to present in some way, or that can be useful. Because a lot of stuff I do is sketchbook work, but it'd be quite nice if I could perhaps do things like make some cards and get better at making cards, for example. I've done this one before because I've got a bookmark blank here, and so I'm going to draw a bookmark and show, give you some ideas for that, perhaps, or things like that. So I think the weekend is likely to be for things like this. Gifts, things to send, happy mail for people perhaps. And I may venture into the realms of art journaling or journal making, something like that. I don't know for sure, but it may be other things as well. Is that I'm drawing today, but next week I could decide to say make another bookmark, but use watercolour paper and create a wonderful watercolour background that I then use as an inspiration for the design on the front and things like that. So something a bit different. So I hope that's okay. Good. I'm glad it is. Okay, so this is a piece of Bristol board paper. Mine is by Winsor & Newton, which I'll just bring in here, which you can see. It's called Bristol board, and it's a really, really smooth drawing surface. It's not really suitable for wet media. Marker pens, alcohol marker pens work fine. Watercolour pencils are very light wash of watercolour. You can get away with it's very just damp brush to move colour around because the surface is easily disrupted. Surprisingly, it is designed for using airbrushes on, but airbrush work, from what I understand, not that I've ever done it, puts a very thin layer of paint or ink down, so fine it dries almost instantly. So this I've cut from this piece of Bristol board, and it is A4 in width, which is nearly 8¼ inches, and it's nearly 21 centimetres. And the width I cut in inches, so it's 2½ inches, which is 6 centimetres, which you can't see me measuring. You can, if I move it up, you can. So 2.5 inches, about 6 centimetres. Just a little bit over 6 centimetres, but they're close. And to create my, I've put pencil line borders in. So I've got a couple of different rulers like this. But this one, these are marked off in centimetres. I do mix old-fashioned imperial measurements or American measurements with metric. But this is a centimetre. I think it's a centimetre. Yep. So the top and bottom, I've put a border of 1 centimetre in, and to the side it's 3/4 of a centimetre, 0.75 centimetres. And in inches, this one is, oh gosh, it's one of these silly things. It's between 1/4 and 3/16. Is it 3/16? No, it's not 16ths, is it? 1/8. 3/8. And this side is nearly 1/4 of an, is it 1/4 of an inch? No, nearly 1/2 inch ish. But as long as they're level, they'll be fine. So I have started drawing here because I wanted to make a start. And I'm going to use some motifs that I'd popped on the paper. Oh gosh, that's the lid of my pen flying everywhere. I popped on this paper the other day that I wanted to use in my Doodly Wills book, which I didn't use many of them. And I may not use all of them here, and I may use some that aren't, but it's a starting point. I like to do that, to make a list of things I could use, because it does give you those starting points. It gives you ideas, options, if you think, oh, what can I put here? Because I will use some of my favourite kinds of designs. So this one's drawn. I'm going to do these in the corner. So this is the sort of like, this is just part of a flower or some kind of strange sea plant. And then I can pop the frillier bits in like this, and I am going to pop one on the outside as a kind of border. Eventually I'm sure that I will have lines all the way round, but I don't want to draw pen lines in yet, because I will want to add or have some of these designs will end up wanting to spill out a little bit, the borders. So I will close that bit off there. Okay, and I am using a finer pen. I'm drawing my main parts with an 05, and I'll use an 03 to pop in some of these lines that divide these areas up to create interest in them. It's something I do like to do. I've got a really interesting shape here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define where I want the border of the next one, and then draw my 2 wobbly ones in, and then my central bit like that. And again, I'll pick up my finer pen and just pop in some these lines to divide this space up. You could put art, you know, like petal shapes in here, or fill them with perk or whatever. But part of me's thinking I might colour this. I might use alcohol markers. I'll see how I feel. So there's this one, and I do want to add some weighting of lines here, just to help separate these a little, and to lend some layers here, I think, which is always fun. So there we go. So that's my first one. Now then, I do like flowers very much, and I think I'm going to pop some little flowers here. I'm doing them as I move myself out of camera view. I'm sorry, I think it's going to be one of those days. So I put 4 little lines arranged in a cross, and I use those as a guide to position my petals around. And it's a nice way to get petals overlapping as well, because you know where to position the middle. I often do that. If I'm sketching something like this out, I just put circles roughly where I want the flowers to be in pencil, and then fill that circle or circular-ish or oval shape up, or whatever shape my flowers are going to be, with pattern. And if it goes outside the circle or it's not circular entirely in shape, that's fine, because the guide is only in pencil. So I'm going to pop one here. And I'm going to leave that open, because these little gaps I am going to fill in black. It's so lovely to draw on Bristol paper. I don't do this often enough, really. I don't think I have very much of it in my stash. I could be wrong. I have a ridiculous amount of stuff stashed away, and I need to have a sort out, or a sorting, as in going and having a look. So that's quite nice just on that side, but I do want a little scattering of them over here. So I'm deliberately not going for a symmetrical design, that's for sure. And perhaps just one up here as well. Again, I'm going to take this here. So I thought this would be nice, because I was aware that a lot of my videos are becoming samey. And I know that there's not everybody's going to enjoy certain ones. I mean, there may be a lot of people who might not enjoy this, but would look forward to Fragment Fridays. I look at tangle pattern fragments, variations. So if I try to stick to a theme outside of challenge months, because there will be months where I take up a month-long challenge per se, or if I get involved with a weekly challenge, then I will set that up for a particular day. But I just thought it would be quite nice to do something so you know what day you're likely to get something. And I can't guarantee this is always going to happen, because something may come up that I want to share, or there may be a reason why I can't put a video out on a particular day. But now I've got the community section, I can always let you know easily. So if you're not subscribed, that's a good reason to subscribe, perhaps, because you get access to the comments section as well, where you can, or community section, where you can reply to posts I've made there. But it's also a way of keeping up with things that perhaps I don't tell you in a video, or something's come up and I can't release a video that day for whatever reason, because things do happen. I know that one day next week I've got to get my car to a garage. It's booked in to have a repair done. So I've got a water leak somewhere, and it needs sorting. So I booked this in about 2-3 months ago, because, well, everything is so much harder to organise with the pandemic. Everything is run so differently, which isn't a problem, but so I'm likely to be wiped out next Tuesday, because it's going to be stressful for me, because not only am I going to take my car the garage early in the morning, but I'm having a loan car and it won't be a smart car, so it's likely to be a huge Mercedes tank. Even the smallest Mercedes is like driving a tank for me. And I'm never very confident driving a big car nowadays because I've had a smart car for so long. And I'm also very nervous of driving them because the very first time I was given a Mercedes, I got as far as the service station, which is about half a mile away, if that, from the service centre parked, and I pranged it. I scratched it and another car because I was so used to driving a smart car, I thought I'd park it the same way. And this thing was about 2.5–3 times as long as my smart car. So I'm very nervous about it, and because I haven't been driving too much over the last couple of years, I'm also finding it I need a lot more practice at driving. It's not that my driving's bad, it's just that it's a whole different weird kind of thing for me to do. The skill set is a little rusty, shall we say. And of course I'm driving somebody else's car essentially. So what I'm doing here while I'm chatting is I'm using one of my favourite fillers, which if you didn't see what it was, it's just a circle with a concentric circle. I put a little circle where I want that little highlight, and then I colour the rest in solid black. And they look like a sea of little eyes, if you want to be that way inclined, or a sea of seeds. That little bit there looks a bit odd, so I'm just going to fill it in black. These I love to do in different shapes as well. So triangles are one of my favourites actually, and also a more oblong shape, or even a more like that. And you can add little embellishments on them. Look, put little petals on, well, either all the way round, or I quite like them part way round. But you can pop the holders on the top and bottom, perhaps on the four corners. Put some things like that on there, but I'm just keeping them simple today because I just wanted them to help even up this area here. And I'm even going to pop a partial one in here on the edge, so it's like they're behind the flowers. And I might even just pop another flower here to have it, and perhaps another one here because that looks a bit odd as it is, but that doesn't so much. It's just nice because I'm getting that kind of layering going on now, and interest. So let me do a couple more over here perhaps. There's another one there. So that's not until the car thing isn't until not next week, the week after. But I'm beginning to get a bit nervy about it, to say the least, but he'll be fine. I'm sure it's something that's easily solved. They need the car overnight, which is why I'm having a loan car. I could get a taxi there and back, but the cost would be stupid, I'm guessing, and I'm not comfortable being around people, as I keep saying, for lots of reasons, but mainly because, and I don't want any sympathy. I live alone and I've been mostly by myself for the last couple of years, but I have had contact with people through things like Zoom, which has been fantastic for me. So there we are. So we've got some of the flowers floating here. Now I do want to add some other things. And I think what I'd like here, I'm going to draw some disc shapes like this. I hope you saw that at the bottom. Okay, so it's an oval, and then we're going to draw a thicker edge there as if it disappears behind. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it into a kind of horn shape, I suppose. I'm going to pop a hole in the middle. And I think I'll stripe down here and add some highlights in. So I'm just going to take the line from here and take it somewhere and then have this one join it. With this one I managed to curve both in, but pop the hole in the middle. In this case I've made a rim on the inside that would be in shadow, and then I have added some double lines to be the black rings going around, or whatever else you want to add there. What I am going to do though in this one is I am going to move it up so you can see what I'm doing, and I'm just going to add some lines in there for shadow. So I'm going to carry on. I'll add a few more of these and I'll come back afterwards. So see you in a mo. So there we are so far. I've added quite a few of these trumpets or horn shaped things. What came to mind as drawing them, I remember years ago when I played Dungeons and Dragons, one of the dungeons or adventures I used to use was in caves, and one cave was filled with this softly glowing moss that when you trod on it or touched it, it would honk. It was called honk moss, and that's what I think. As I was drawing this, I wonder if that's what that honk moss looks like. Could I get the band of adventurers out of this cave? No, they would insist on going back to play with the honk moss from time to time. You gotta love kids. In fact, I'd be tempted to do that as an adult. Got no, don't like the smell down there. I'm going back to play with the honk moss. Sadly, the honk moss also calls monsters along at random, so they didn't realise that for the first few times they went back. So a monster came in to chivvy them along. Sorted. Yeah, so plenty of honk moss there. Now what I have got are some little spaces in between these that are sort of like white. And I could fill them in black, but the problem with that is it will become hard then to make sense of these shapes in there. So what I'm thinking of doing, just trying to tidy up some of my lines here. Unfortunately, my pen's insisting going in different directions to what I want them to. Again, this is something to do with different paper surfaces affect the way I draw, and yeah, so I think what I'm going to do here is just, I'm using an 01 here. I'm going to stipple in there, so use dots instead to add a difference in the background, and you can actually, with a fine pen, you can vary the density as well, so you get a feeling of shading and shadow or a gradient. The other thing I think I'm going to do is these rims here. I think I'm going to add lines that are curved there to give it a feeling of volume. And also it helps to make sense of the whole shape itself, I think. So I'll finish these off and I'll come back with the next step. I'm about a third, just nearly a half, between a third and a half of the way up the bookmark already. So the stippling just adds that background shade, or, you know, or difference. And when I add shadow to this, that will help to bring it out. So now I just need to move on to the next kind of layer. And I'm not entirely sure what yes, I do know what I want to pop here, because we're going to have a botanical explosion, I think. I'm going to do a stem like this. Then I'm going to turn this into a ginkgo-ish leaf. Remember what I said, that I am going to have these hanging outside my border sometimes. And then the top is roughly shaped. So if you think of it, you could draw it in pencil if you like. There's the top of the leaf, circular. The sides come in and then go down. So we get this kind of shape. And I'm going to put a couple of slits in it, which may not remain as slits, because I do have a habit of wanting to pop little caps on them, like so. But for this one, what I am going to do here is I'm going to use a finer pen, and in the centre of this, I'm going to draw one of these kinds of things. So I'll come back when I've drawn a few more. Actually, I'll do one more with you, because what I might do for this one, the next one, is to pop in my pencil guides, because I think that will help greatly, because I think I'm going to need a slightly wider that's the 03. Slightly wider stem, perhaps, to make it easier to put that central, I think it's called a spathe. Missed there a bit. I don't know if you saw what I did, what I've done as well here. I'll show you again. Is with these, so if I draw with these here, instead of having these straight, I'm going to curve them in and down towards the centre like this. So it helps to add more that kind, more movement and volume, I suppose, to the leaf. Makes it feel as if it's actually bending over, that kind of way. Is what I did here. I haven't made these as big and as exaggerated as in the example I showed you. I think you have to trust yourself as to what you want, and they can vary from leaf to leaf. So I've got that one done. So I'm going to do the rest of the layer of these, she says. I'll pull it up, and I'll be back in a mo. See you in a moment. Okay, there we are. I've done as many of those as I'd like to do. So I've now got that layer of botanicals in, and I will zoom in because I've adjusted my camera as well, so we can zoom in and you can see more of the design as I go along. And can you see these little bits? I've put these little bits in between as if they're seedlings of this particular shape, which of course we have this. So it's the same shape that we popped in the centre of these. I'm sure it's good. There's got to be a stamen or whatever. And then I just ordered it to give it an area around it. Now around these, I think these could stand with being filled in with black. I think because there's nothing very black near them. So I think that could work quite well. So I'll start doing that. And then I'll disappear and do the rest off camera, because there's nothing quite like watching paint dry, is there? So that'll work quite nicely because you see this stands out now against the background. So I'll be back in a moment once I've done all of that. There we are. And that adds a bit of drama as well. It really helps these to stand out. What's really nice about doing this, and I do like to take my time because I try to get all areas covered, but once the ink's dried, sometimes you go and you go, oh yeah, I can see where that's, yeah, missed that bit a little bit. But where lines are perhaps a little bit wonky or not quite as you want them, you can actually adjust them using black, just as I've just done there, because I saw that was attached to this one and I thought I wanted a bit of space between them. So that's quite fun. So I now need to decide what I'm going to do here. I've got spaces around these, and whereas I could try to put a couple more in, I'm disinclined to, because I think I'd like to use something a bit different up here, or to return to perhaps these flowers down here. I'm not entirely sure. I'm just thinking, I could have done this while I was, you know, doing stuff off camera, but I think having some more of these flowers up here would be quite nice. It would tie it in with the bottom section, and I find this quite a useful thing to do, is to repeat patterns within a design. It gives a more cohesive feel. There's a word. It feels like things belong together. It's you know, although there is a lot of randomness in how I create designs, or seeming randomness, let's call it intuition, because that's essentially what it is. I trust my intuition and my sense to do these. It's still nice to have these patterns repeat, which is why I think I might, going forward, put together sheets like this with just a couple of, not as many designs on as that, because that's ridiculous for a small picture like this, but to have a little look through my books and pull out some patterns to use in a design and stick to those. It'd be lovely if I could use dice to decide them, but unfortunately I don't know how many patterns or fragments I have virtualed away, so I think I'll just do it by, I think I'll use this one and try and put them together in that kind of way, which would be fun. So we'll see what happens. I've got to remember I've said that now, that's the only problem. Somebody is going to remind me though, I'm sure. I know there's plenty of you out there who actually pay attention to what I say. Me, comes out my mouth and it leaves my head. This here is a bit of an untidy line, so I'll just tidy that up a bit there. So I'll carry on with these because I'm nearly done. So I'm trying to do a bit more sort of like off camera, so the video isn't quite as long as it could be if I did everything with you. But you'll get the idea. So that's quite nice. I think I might pop a partial flower here, because I just think that will just give a nicer top to this. And I'll just check for the line at the side. That's okay there, and that one's okay there. It's a bit out, but it's fine. So that's nice. Okay, so next, I think I'm going to do And I think I'll start up here. I'm going to go all the way to the top, or nearly all the way to the top. And I'm going to pop in some of these poppy seed heads, which we've seen before. I'll draw one on here, and then I'll zoom in and do an example on here. I am going to create a architectural stem on this one, because I do like things that are quite architectural, as you know. Well, maybe you don't if you've never seen my work before, but I do have a thing about making things quite chunky and architectural, almost like columns. So I've got this here, and I think out of these I'm going to pop. Now on the example I've got on my sheet, I had like little seedlings, but I think here I'm going to pop almost like seeds. I'll come back and add some detail to them in a little while. I am going to pop a band around there because I do quite like bands, and a final one there, and then that gives me the place to pop in, as in pop in on a poppy seed head. Some lines to split this up a little bit, just a bit. I can tidy that up, and I'll come back to that in a moment. And then for my stem here, I think I'm going to do this. I use these as ways of dividing sections up. So I think here I'm going to pop another one down here, so I've got a distinct section, and then I'm going to create something that's like a bead, and then I think that'll be fine for this. Then I can just have this here. So again, this gives me the opportunity to add some detail in, and fun detail at that. So I'm going to add stripes to this one, please. Well, I'm back. It's now nearly 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've been chopsing on the phone for the last 4.5 hours. A friend I haven't spoken to in ages, so it's lovely to catch up. And while I've been chatting, of course, I've been drawing. So, very simply, I'll draw one of these with you, and this motif I've already done. The flowers we've already done. The background is really quite simple. So let's have a look at this particular motif here and how I drew that. So it starts with, what size pen have I got? It doesn't matter really, does it? I've got an 03 here. So I'm going to start with the top. So it's a bit like a crown. Yeah, with 3 points. So if I zoom in, pull my paper down, hopefully, there we go. That's a bit better, isn't it? Then I'm going to draw the shape that I want underneath. It doesn't have to be perfectly spherical, not one bit. I'm going to put a little band here, and I like to put a thinner band on either side, just so that this separates that little area from everywhere else. And I filled this little space with shattuck, a tangle pattern, which is made by, if I put a band here, start with a line. I always do my lines this way, then a zigzag, and then we echo that line and the direction of it, the next one, like this, and so on and so forth. So it's basically zigzagging across, but rather than doing a zigzag, I prefer to do each of these sections of lines one at a time. I then popped some lines here in the middle. I did outline these, but I also did some around the outside edge, like so. And then in the middle, I've created like a little window or a little opening, a slit, and in there I've popped seeds. They're basically perk tangle pattern, so they look like they're overlapped. When you overlap them this way, I've got the biggest one, I've got one in the middle at the top and the others are underneath. So if I bring this in, so you can see that these have got the ones on the top, and you've got that feeling of it bulging out. This one is the one on the bottom, and it's got the same kind of feeling, but it's slightly different. So you can choose where you pop these. And then underneath, I'm just checking I'm in frame, I've put some of these, part of a stem, some more of these kinds of rounded shapes. It doesn't matter really how many you put there, you can vary it from one to the other, there's no need really to count, but you know me, I rather like my threes. And then I put 3 underneath, and then for this section here I'm going to draw some sections in, separate them with a plain band and one there, and again I'm going to fill this with shattuck, but you could fill them with any way you like, leave them blank and fill them with different colours. The only other thing that I've done is I've added a shadow along one side and along this side, and I've created some weight to lines on the outside here, this side, this side. I would pop some out here and perhaps out there, this side here, a little bit there and down here, to the left and underneath on this side, left, 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 under there, all the way around there. And I am going to thicken the upper line here. I did on one of these, I think, pop a dividing line in the middle, which is actually quite cute. I couldn't do it in the other two because I just didn't have the space to put another line in. So that's very quickly done. I am considering, or have considered, putting pattern in here, but I actually think I quite like it as it is. So the last thing is from the top. I'm going to put 3 of these, and I haven't spread them out evenly, I've had them going at all kinds of angles. And again, I'm just going to put shadow on the left hand side, and then in here I'm just going to pop a little bit of a shadow like that. So if I put them side by side, this one's got a bit of a wonky stem. Oh, I say side by side, you can't see them, can you? Let's pull them down. Bit of a wonky stem, but it works in the same kind of way. So I hope you've enjoyed this and that you'll consider doing this. I'll put it on the side so you can see it, but I have scanned this in, so I'll make sure that well, screen on YouTube is sideways rather than vertical, but you get the idea. I've scanned it in, so I'll add shadow and colour and so on the scanned in version. So the friend I was talking to, I've promised this to her as a bookmark when I see her, which won't be till the summer most probably, unless the world changes. I say until the summer. It all depends on me and my anxiety. The last thing I need to do is somewhere in here, I just need to tuck away my initials. Oh, the pattern in the background here, in this bit, is really quite easy. You just draw little lines around an imaginary circle. You can either make it a really big circle, you can use short lines, long lines, or you can make it quite small. Mine are sort of like small and a bit bigger than small. There's a line missing there, really. And I've tucked some behind and underneath, so that feels like that texture's behind them. So, a bit disjointed. I've got to edit a little bit out of a video because the phone started ringing and I tried to talk over it. Not good. So, I hope to see you again. I think I said at the beginning of the video, I'm unlikely to have a video tomorrow. I've got a lot of things on tomorrow with meditation meetings, chatting to a friend online and so on, that I don't think I'll have time to fit one in. So Monday will be the next video, but I'm likely to post on social media anyway. Keep your eyes open for this coloured. The chances are I will pop it onto social media when I get it done, most probably while the video's uploading actually. We'll see. So, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this and have a go at drawing a bookmark, and I'll see you again soon. Until then, take care and be creative. Bye, Hoyle.